The incessant honking of taxis and the ceaseless trudge of pedestrians formed a cacophony that seemed to ricochet within the confines of my skull. And steel and glass loomed overhead, casting long shadows across the sidewalk where I stood, feeling small, a cog in an indifferent machine. And as I navigated through the throngs of a midday crowd, a wariness clung to me, a thick fog that no city light could penetrate. Another day in paradise, and I muttered, the words lost amid the urban din. And at 32, the city's charm had worn thin. The once alluring pulse, now a relentless pounding in my temples. My short, brown hair, once meticulously styled, lay flat against my head, a testament to countless hours spent under fluorescent office lighting. The muscles I'd maintained with such discipline afforded me little comfort when confined to a swivel chair, staring at spreadsheets that blurred into a monotonous tableau of digits and despair. And I needed an escape, something more than the fleeting respite of weekends that seemed to evaporate before they began. The idea had come to me one evening, as I watched the sunset between the skyscrapers, and its beauty obscured by smog and indifference. The wilderness called to me, a siren, a song of promising the unknown, the unexplored, and an antidote to the predictable patterns of the city. Think about it, man. Just us, the woods with no distractions. My voice was almost fervent as I'd pitched the plan to my friends over our weekly video call, the screen splitting our faces into digital quadrants. And out there, it's different. It's real. And I continued as the image of the Appalachian forest painted itself behind my eyelids. We need this. Time away from everything. Their nods and smiles beamed back at me through pixels, and a shared understanding without the need for words. We were united by more than just history. We were bound by the need to reclaim a part of ourselves, lost amidst the concrete and chaos. The desire to explore the unknown wasn't just about adventure. It was about rediscovery. A chance to strip away the veneer of urban life and confront the rawness of nature and of ourselves. Let's do it, Henry. You always know how to shake things up, one of them said, and his face was alight with the kind of excitement that only true friendship can kindle. Absolutely, another agreed, his grin infectious. We're in. Let's find out what's out there. And as our plans took shape, so did the sense of anticipation. There was something thrilling about stepping into the woods, where the rules of man gave way to ancient laws of the wild. And every rustle of leaves could carry weight, and every snap of a twig in a story. And the whispering wind would speak secrets meant only for those daring enough to listen. And in those moments, planning our escape, I felt the weariness lift, replaced by an eagerness I hadn't known I possessed. The city, with its endless drone, seemed a world away, and the looming trip beckoned like a beacon, a promise of freedom, camaraderie, and an enigmatic allure of the untouched Appalachia. Let's find our adventure, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile dream. But it was real, and we were going, leaving behind the urban sprawl for the haunting beauty of the forest. Little did we know, the shadows that danced between the trees harbored more than just the unknown. They held a darkness, eager to envelop us in its chilling embrace. All right, everyone check your gear one last time, I instructed, my voice a mix of authority and excitement. We stood in a circle, the dim glow of the early morning sun casting long shadows on the pavement. My friends rummaged through their backpacks, ensuring that sleeping bags were rolled tight and provisions were accounted for. "You got the map, Henry?" Marcus asked, his eyebrows raised in mock seriousness. as he hoisted his pack onto his shoulders. "Of course," I replied, patting the folded paper in my pocket, like it was a talisman capable of warding off the chaos we so eagerly sought to escape. "Can't have us wandering aimlessly into the woods, now can we?" "Though that'd be quite the adventure, huh?" Liz chimed in. Her laughter lightened the palpable tension that always accompanies the precipice of a journey into the unknown. "An adventure we'll have," I promised, locking eyes with each of them. "But let's not try to become part of the local folklore just yet." As we piled into the car, the city streets buzzed around us, indifferent to our departure. And as the urban landscape receded, replaced by the verdant blur of the countryside, so too did the weight of daily life. And it wasn't until the final turnoff, where civilization seemed to end and the wilderness began, that the full magnitude of our decision hit me. The narrow road wound its way through the dense Appalachian forest, trees standing like silent sentinels, guarding the secrets of the wild. The deeper we ventured, the more the woods closed in around us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were trespassing into a realm that was not our own. "Guys, look at this place," Michael whispered, all lacing his voice, as the car came to a stop, and we stepped out into the clearing that would serve as our temporary home. The campsite lay nestled in a natural hollow, surrounded by towering oaks and maples. Their leaves whispered in the gentle breeze, and a hushed conversation that filled the air with both beauty and an undercurrent of something else. It was as if the forest held its breath, watching us with unseen eyes, waiting to see what we would do next. "Wow," Liz breathed out, taking in the haunting majesty of our surroundings. This is perfect, Henry. Absolutely perfect." "Couldn't have agreed more," Marcus said, but his usual grin wavered ever so slightly, as if he too sensed that we had crossed an unspoken boundary. "Alright, let's set up camp," I suggested, eager to establish some semblance of order in the face of the overwhelming wilderness. "We've got a lot of daylight left, and I want to explore before dusk." As we unloaded our gear and began to settle in, a silence settled over the group, a mixture of reverence for the beauty of the place and an instinctual wariness in its depths. The laughter and banter from earlier seemed distant now, replaced by the low murmur of nature's symphony, a sound both comforting and disquieting. Here's to the adventure we signed up for, and I toasted later that evening, raising a flask around the newly lit campfire. "May it be everything we hoped for," Liz added, the flickering flames reflecting in her eyes. "Cheers," not knowing that the true test of our mettle lay just beyond the firelight and the shadowy embrace of the Appalachians' ancient woods. The twilight seeped through the dense canopy above, casting a mosaic of shadows upon our campsite. Peering into the thickening gloom of the Appalachia's embrace, the hush hung heavy in the air, the kind that presses against your eardrums and makes you sharply aware of the blood coursing through your veins. The trees stood like silent sentinels, their tall figures bordering on the realm of giants from bedtime stories of our youth. "Creepy, isn't it?" Jim whispered beside me, his voice betraying a note of awe. "Beautifully so," I replied, my gaze not shifting from the forest that seemed to watch us with unseen eyes. "There's something primal about it, like we've stepped back in time, or into another world entirely," Jess added, her arms wrapped around herself, as if the chill of isolation was more than just a feeling. "Let's keep the fire going," Roger suggested, adjusting his glasses with a nervous gesture. It'll keep the wildlife away." "Sure thing, Roger," Lisa said, tossing another log into the flames, which greedily licked at its new fuel, sending sparks spiraling upwards towards the starless sky. We settled around the warmth. The crackle of the fire, an intimate symphony played just for us. But as the darkness deepened, so did the silence, until it was broken by the subtlest of sounds, and the rustling not far away from our circle of light. We all froze, and our collective breaths held in a moment of uncertainty. Probably just a raccoon, I said, though I couldn't mask the tightness in my own voice. Raccoons don't sound that heavy, Roger murmured, his eyes darting towards the opaque blackness beyond our camp. Let's try to get some sleep, I suggested, feigning a confidence that I didn't feel. We have a big day tomorrow. We retreated to our tents, the fabric walls a thin veil between us and the wilderness. And as I lay there, the softness of my sleeping bag seemed incongruous with the harshness outside. And it wasn't long before a new noise joined the night's chorus, an eerie giggle, like that of children playing games long after they should be asleep. My heart quickened and I turned my head towards the sound, holding my breath. Did you hear that? Lisa's voice cut through the tent wall, tinged with uncertainty. Go to sleep, Liz. It's nothing. I called back, but the words felt hollow even to me. The giggles faded, leaving behind a heavier silence, a void where laughter once resonated. I closed my eyes, willing sleep to come, and yet the unseen gaze of the woods pressed close, whispering of the secrets and fears best left undisturbed. Now I woke to the muffled sound of concern punctuating the crisp morning air. Groggily, I unzipped my tent and stepped back into the dawning light that had yet to chase away the shadows lurking between the trees. The campsite was a mess, with our gear strewn about as if a whirlwind had swept through the night. Where's the stove? Jessica's voice held an edge of panic that immediately set me on alert. Please tell me someone's playing a sick joke, Jim added, his usual joviality replaced by a furrowed brow, as he searched around the overturned coolers. Lisa was on her knees, rifling through her backpack. Her hands emerged empty. My camera, it's gone. The unease that had nestled into my chest overnight bloomed into full-blown dread. Now our essential items we had meticulously checked off our list before turning in had vanished. No stove, no camera, not even a map. We were left vulnerable, stripped of more than just our possessions. Did anyone leave the camp last night? Roger asked, pushing his glasses up to the bridge of his nose, his eyes scanning each of us for signs of deceit. No, of course not, I snapped more sharply than intended. We would have heard. Then how do you explain this, Henry? Lisa's accusation hung in the air like a mist, an unwelcome sheen of suspicion. Someone might be messing with us, I suggested, trying to keep my voice steady. We can't jump to conclusions. Nor something, Jim said, his gaze drifting to the dense woods that seemed to watch us with the unseen eyes. Great, that's all we need. A ghost thief, Roger muttered. But his attempt at humor fell flat against the backdrop of our predicament. Guys, let's stay calm, I urged. We need to work together, not turn on each other. Easy for you to say, Jessica retorted, her arms crossed defensively. You're not the one who lost something important. And everyone's missing something important, I countered, feeling the weight of their collective stares as heavy as the fog that shrouded the peaks around us. And let's just pack up and get out of here, Lisa said, her voice small but determined. Without a map? Roger shook his head. That's asking to get more lost. Then what? Stay here like sitting ducks, waiting for whatever took our stuff to come back? Lisa's fear is palpable, her free-spirited nature crumbling under the pressure of the unknown. Nobody's taking anything else, Jim asserted, casting a wary look over his shoulder. Right, because that worked so well for us the last time, Roger shot back. Enough! And I raised my voice more to silence my own creeping terror than their muttering arguments. We'll figure this out, but right now, we need to stick together. The words felt like stones in my mouth, heavy with responsibility I wasn't sure I could carry. As the group reluctantly gathered their personal belongings, we became a circle of mistrust, and each of us harboring doubts not only about our safety, but about each other. The wilderness had seeped into our bonds, twisting them into gnarled roots that threatened to split at any moment. I took a deep breath, the chill of the air filling my lungs. Let's check our phones. Maybe one of us can get a signal out here. And I suggested trying to inject a note of practicality into the situation. My friends fumbled with their devices, thumbs sliding over screens that remained dark, unresponsive to our desperation. One by one, they looked up at me, their eyes reflecting the dawning realization we were cut off. The invisible threads that connected us to the outside world, severed by the dense canopy and the indifferent mountains. Nothing, Lisa murmured, her voice tinged with defeat. The rest echoed her sentiment, their gazes falling to the forest floor, littered with fallen leaves and the remnants of our dwindling hope. Okay, I said, steadying my voice as best I could. We don't need phones to find our way back. But even as I spoke, a flicker of uncertainty passed through me. Was I leading them deeper into danger? The thought gnawed at me. I had always been the one with the plan, the leader. Now my resolve wavered, like a candle flame in the wind. Should we try to retrace our steps? Jim asked, his brow furrowed. Without the map or compass, and it's risky, I admitted, feeling the weight of everyone upon me. Then what's your brilliant idea, Henry? Roger's voice was sharp, laced with the accusation. First, we stay calm, I said, locking eyes with him, challenging his doubts with my own wavering certainty. Panic is our worst enemy right now. And as the words left my lips, an unsettling silence descended upon us, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of an unseen bird. And it was as if the forest itself was listening, its ancient trees standing sentinel around our vulnerable group. Did you hear that? Lisa whispered suddenly, her eyes wide as she scanned the tree line. Probably just an animal, I replied, but my heart hammered against my ribs. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes tracking our every move. Make sure to check back for part 2, and it will be the next upload. Thank you for listening this far, and leave a like, subscribe, come back for more as darkness falls.